What is up, gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode on the channel. As always, so glad you guys are on here. On today's episode, I wanted to look at discipline. I wanted to look at how we as people can build discipline in our day-to-day lives and how we can establish a new framework, a new methodology for thinking about and cultivating discipline. Discipline is honestly often misunderstood because it's quite an esoteric concept. What does it mean to truly be disciplined? Does this mean that we do everything that we must do no matter what, without fault, and we are 110% perfect all the time? Is that a disciplined person? Or on the flip side, is a disciplined person someone who never indulges in any form of instant gratification? Is that a disciplined person? Is a disciplined person a good person? Is he a bad person? Is he just a person? What characterizes and what defines a disciplined person? Ultimately, I believe that a disciplined person can be defined and characterized by how you discipline your mind, your body, and ultimately how you use that discipline. Most importantly, how you use that discipline to enhance and to empower the lives of yourself and of those around you. This is someone who's truly disciplined. We'll start off by looking at the disciplined sense of the body. What is and what does it mean to have control over your body and to have self-discipline from a physical standpoint? I want you guys to remember the last time that you felt a lack of discipline in your physical self. That could be waking up in the morning after having started a gym regimen and choosing, because it's a bit cold outside or you feel a little bit sore from your last workout, not to attend that workout. That represents a lack of discipline. You allowed the feeling of coldness or the feeling of soreness to overcome your desire to be disciplined and to actually go ahead and to do the action of going to the gym. So how does one build discipline in their physical self? Do we start big or do we start small? Discipline, like anything, is something that we can build towards. It's momentum that we can build. It's always the first step that is the hardest step when we're trying to build a sense of discipline in our lives. So start small. Set the goalpost as close as possible. Make it as simple as possible just to get the ball rolling. You can start off by saying, this week, I plan on just not indulging as much in XYZ, right? Whether it's food, whether it's a lack of exercise. Limit yourself from the things you know are dragging you down. It doesn't have to be cold turkey. It doesn't have to be a complete lifestyle switch. Most people set these large, lofty goals for how they plan on being disciplined in their life because they believe that that is the only way to have an effect change in their lives. But what you don't understand is that a simple step is the right step because it's a step in the right direction, which is going to put you even 1 millimeter closer to your end goal than where you currently were. How do you acknowledge that your discipline is actually manifesting itself into your life? Well, you actually acknowledge the acts that you're taking on a day-to-day basis and the effects that they're having on your body. Let's use the physical self as an example. You're going to the gym and you're going 3 times a week and you build up a disciplined routine. You can track your weight over time. If your goal is to lose weight, well, you're able to actually track how your discipline of going to the gym 3 times a week is actually manifesting itself positively in your life. If your goal is to eat healthier, then you can track your food and you can track your weight in accordance to your food. If your goal is to be disciplined in your sleep so that you can have more energy, you can track your sleep. By doing this, you're able to see how your disciplined self and how the actions of being disciplined are manifesting themselves positively in your life. This is going to give you guys the motivation to continue moving. What most people lack is the feedback mechanism. They put in the effort, but they lack the effort in actually tracking how their efforts are manifesting itself or themselves in their physical lives. Give yourself every single opportunity to see how the hard work that you're putting in is manifesting, how the hard work that you're putting in is actually bearing fruit in your day-to-day. This is going to go a long way towards keeping you motivated and keeping you on track. Most people think of discipline as something that once you cultivate, you will never lose. Understand that discipline is very, very shaky at best. It's daily rented. It's not something that you own. You always have to put in the work day in, day out to cultivate and to continue to push and grow your discipline. You must show up every single day and do the work that needs to be done to continue cultivating and building your disciplined self. Even the most disciplined people, the people that wake up early, the people that exercise regularly, that eat well, that don't drink, that don't indulge regularly in negative habits, are people that every single day they must wake up and make a conscious decision just like you to be disciplined in their lives. This is what you must understand. You must understand that the act of being disciplined is something that you have to reinforce every single day. It's not a one time solution where once you have it, you'll never lose it. This should motivate you. It shouldn't be something that is a negative deterrent, because you are essentially every single day marked with a blank slate. You now have the opportunity to recreate yourself in the image of a disciplined person. You're on the same starting point as someone who has been in the game and in the running for the last 20 years. This should motivate you to know that you have what it takes to get to where you need to go. A great example of someone who not only displayed discipline in their physical self, but used consistency to their advantage day in, day out, to treat their body right and to use it to perform to its maximum capabilities, is the baseball player, the legendary baseball player, Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig is most known for having played over 2,000 games consecutively without missing a single game due to injury, due to anything. Anyone who's ever played or known anyone at the top flight of any sports will tell you that that is a feat that is unheard of. What does it take for a man to go through 2,000 games consecutively, day in, day out, without missing a single one? Well, this is discipline. It's not natural born talent. It's not an innate sense of self. This is the discipline to put aside your feelings, to put aside those negative emotions, to put aside the days where you don't feel like doing it, and tell yourself that I'm a disciplined person. I will go against the inhibitions of my body. I will go against what I feel is keeping me back or telling me not to do something, because I believe in what I'm doing. And this is where discipline comes into play. The discipline of consistency is more important than discipline itself, because if you just show up every day, if you're not taking a step back, at least you're staying in the same spot. And that's a hell of a lot better than the same person who just doesn't show up. Because the same time that you don't show up, you tell yourself that it is okay, it is acceptable to break your discipline, to break that consistency. I'm not saying don't take days off. I'm not saying to not be disciplined in knowing when to back off. But if you know you're capable, if you know you're able to push through that momentary feeling of negativity or that momentary feeling of fatigue, then you should be disciplined enough to be consistent in your actions. Just as we have discipline of the body, more importantly so is discipline of the mind. Discipline of the mind comes in all shapes and sizes, but it starts with the acceptance that the things that make us feel the best in their immediate sense are not necessarily the best things for us in our long term. We must be disciplined enough to understand that the modern world offers us a tremendous variety of different gratifications, instant gratifications in all forms, whether it is in the form of food, whether it is in the form of technology, whether it is in the form of communication, whether it is in the form of XYZ. We are surrounded by temptations on a day-to-day basis. We must understand that the immediate satisfaction of whatever we feel from that sense of immediate gratification is not the end goal. To be disciplined, to know when to deny yourself and when to indulge, is the highest form of discipline. It is the discipline to tell yourself that I have the willpower to stay away from that thing that I shouldn't be, to stay away from that food that is going to take me off my diet, to stay away from that situation, to not sleep in, to not give in to my lower instincts. This is the discipline of being able to put off the things that provide you an immediate sense of gratification for the larger goal, which is the larger goal of self-actualization, of building towards the part of yourself that knows that you're able to delay what you want today for what you know you need tomorrow. So why do we want to restrain ourselves? The idea of delaying gratification today seems like it's a form of restraint. It's a form of denying ourselves the pleasures of the world. Am I saying that we should just go ahead and completely eliminate every single thing that makes us feel good? On the contrary, there is a discipline to knowing when and at what time to enjoy specific things. But understand, he who cannot restrain himself from anything, who has no control over his mind and allows his body to act out of accordance with what he actually wants to do, is someone who will never achieve true success and happiness and fulfillment. Imagine this. Imagine the person who is gluttonous, who overeats, who is unable to control themselves towards wanting to become more healthy. You think that that person, though they may be enjoying all the food that they want, every single type of dessert, every single type of beverage, whatever it is, whatever your vice is, you think that person who is gaining that immediate sense of gratification is someone who in the long term will be happy? When you're faced with diabetes, when you're faced with a out of shape body, when you walk up a flight of stairs following your kid and you can't catch a breath, is that someone who's truly happy, who knows that no matter what they do and no matter how hard they try, they'll never be able to restrain themselves long enough to build a body that they can be proud of? You think that that person is truly happy? Sure, they may be gaining those immediate sense of gratification, those immediate impulses may be satisfied, but in the long term, the true things that mean the world to you, that really hold meaning to you, you'll never be able to achieve, and you'll be left with regret towards never having been able to even get close to that version of yourself that you knew you had the potential to become. So how does one build restraint? What are the emotions? What are the mechanisms that we go through as we try to restrain ourselves? Is restraint this physical thing where we're being held back, or is it this more mental thing where battling within ourselves to choose to make the right decision despite our physical sense of self yearning for that thing? Well, restraint is, number one, taking in the data. That information that's coming in, whether it's a craving for a specific type of food that you know you shouldn't be eating. You have an immediate physical reaction. There's a sensation of craving that item. You take a step back. Restraint is the ability to take a step back, to put distance between you and that physical sensation and start to logically analyze it. By logically analyzing it, you take the wind out of the sails of that physical sensation and you tell yourself, is this something, if I indulge in this, if I continuously choose to give in to my lesser instincts, will I be better off or will I be worse off? You need to extrapolate your actions over a long period of time. Most people can only look 5, 10, 20, one day in advance, but they're unable to truly analyze how the effects of what they're going to do is actually going to pan out in the long term. So you analyze that emotion, you analyze that feeling, you take the wind out of that sail, and then you ask yourself, is this something that's going to benefit me long term or not? And if you can truly answer that, sure, this is a one-time thing, or this will not harm me in the long term, then go ahead, choose to indulge. But if you can honestly answer yourself that this is not something that is going to bear fruit in the long term, this is how you take a step back. This is how you show restraint. And every single time you show that restraint, you're reinforced in your mind that you're not someone to be toyed with. You're not someone that is going to give in that easily towards your lesser instincts. The last and probably most important part of building up a sense of mental discipline is the understanding that we are imperfect. There is no one that has ever been perfect, that has ever lived. Imperfection is a natural part of human life. Just as we have our ups, we have our downs. You must be willing to understand and to accept that mastering your mind is not something that you read a book about. It's not something that you watch this one episode and you go ahead and you have a good day. It's something that will be a lifelong journey. It's something that will take you an entire lifetime to even come close to mastering. You'll never be able to master yourself truly, but at least you have a goalpost that is worth chasing after. At least you have a target that is worth going after. And this is what makes life worth living. This is what gives texture to your life. And this is what gives you something that is worth the while to wake up to and to chase after. All is well and said, but if discipline only remains in our minds and in our bodies, and we are unable to use our discipline to impact others, to benefit others, what is the use of discipline? If we're unable to use discipline to cultivate our gifts and to give those gifts freely and to give them as widely as we can, then what is the point of discipline? And this takes me on to my last point. You must understand that discipline is not for you. Discipline is for those around you. You are disciplined not because you want to live a better life. That is a byproduct of being disciplined. You are disciplined because you want to impact and empower others in the best way possible. Just think of the mother that is disciplined and is able to take care of her children, who is able to keep them on track, who is able to make sure that their lunches are packed, who is able to make sure that they're doing their homework on time. This is discipline. She's not doing it for herself. She's doing it for her kids. Think of the CEO that is disciplined enough to show up every single day and to make sure that his team stays on track, to make sure that their clients are being satisfied, to make sure that work is being performed at the highest level that is set. He is making sure of this to empower the company to continue to grow and to allow the team within to continue to prosper from that growth. Discipline is about impacting and empowering others. By doing this, we offer our gifts in the purest form possible. As we cultivate our sense of discipline as a means of impacting others, we must understand that discipline also means the lack of alienating others. What I don't want for anyone is a life where you become a hermit, where you have to go live on top of a hill and you have to alienate yourself from every single person because you believe the temptations are too much or the distractions are too intense. You must be willing to live in the world as a disciplined person and to overcome the many challenges that you're going to face, the many temptations that you're going to face for the greater good. What use is a disciplined person who's never seen? What use is a disciplined person who never goes out into the world, who never has the opportunities, the daily opportunities to give their gifts to the world. This is where discipline is wasted. This is where discipline is only built for one's ego, for one's sense of selfishness. Discipline is a very unselfish trait. It's a very virtuous trait, and we must treat it as such. It's the same person that is a disciplined person that is able to look at any failure or any setback as just that, a setback. You're not out of the race. You're not counted out just yet. You have the ability to get back to it. We face failures every day in large ways and in small ways. We face failures, but as long as they are not a complete failure and it's not a total defeat, we have the ability to pick ourselves up, to dust ourselves off, to get back on the horse. Understanding this is a cornerstone of discipline, because discipline is not a linear path. Discipline is not something that once we get on the horse, we're never going to fall off. It is even the most disciplined people that face failures, that fail setback, but use these as ways to enhance their discipline, to learn from what triggers them, to learn from their moments of weakness, to learn from where they came up short to improve for the next time. You need to be understanding that living a disciplined life is not only about being stern with yourself, but it is also about choosing to show compassion and to kindness to others when you are unwilling or unable to do that the most, on the days where you feel the most stressed, where you feel the most fatigued, where you feel the most worn down. It is a discipline to show compassion, understanding, and kindness to those around you. This is the highest form of discipline, the ability to put yourself in a different playing field than others and to hold yourself to a standard that you don't have to hold to others. Be stringent with your own standards, but be forgiving with others. Understand that humans will be humans, and be willing to actually put aside your own ego and your own standards to show compassion, to show kindness, to show forgiveness, because that is what the most disciplined people do. They're able to put up their own inhibitions for the betterment of the people and those in front of them.